Alright, so this is a quick reference video for the relatively simple task of replacing the struts on your car. I'll be working on a '09 Mitsubishi Galant, but the process is similar for most vehicles that utilize the McPherson strut suspension. You want to begin by jacking the vehicle up and removing the tire. Now we have access to our strut assembly, so let's begin removing the fasteners, starting with this sway bar link. You're going to need a 4mm hex key and a 14mm wrench. Once that's done, you're going to need a 10mm socket to remove the ABS line bracket from the bottom left hand side of the strut. With the same 10mm socket, go to the opposite side and remove that brake line bracket. Now we're ready to remove the two bolts that attach the strut to the steering knuckle. You'll need a 24mm deep socket to remove the nut while you hold it still with the 24mm wrench. You may find it necessary to jack up the knuckle by the rotor so you can remove any tension and knock that last bolt through the hole. The jack also helps keep the knuckle stationary once it's separated from the strut. Now we can go up top and remove these three 14mm mounting bolts. Now all you have to do is wrestle it from the car. Compare the old strut to the new strut to make sure you have the right part. I bought this replacement strut for $109 shipped, and it requires me to reuse the spring, the boot, the bump stop, and the lower mounting plate. For this next step, you'll need a spring compressor. If you don't own a spring compressor, you can rent one from just about any major parts store. You first want to lubricate the threads of the spring compressor tool, and when using the spring compressors, make sure they're 180 degrees apart. You also want to tighten them down evenly, because over tightening one side more than the other can cause the spring to bow out, and that can put you in a dangerous position. To remove the strut mount, we'll need a 17mm deep socket for this nut right here, but first make sure you mark the position of this arrow relative to the shock body, or take a picture so you can transfer or mount the new one accordingly. I'm using vice grips to keep this rod from turning while I back this nut off. Once again, compare your parts to make sure they are identical. I purchased this new strut mount separate from the strut, and it cost me an extra $33 ship from rockauto.com. Now we're going to remove our spring, and all the other parts will be transferring to the new strut. With the new strut and the vise, we can begin adding our other parts. Your new strut should have come with a new nylon locking nut. Make sure you use it. Make sure the coil spring lines up with the indent in the coil spring seat. When you add the strut mount, make sure the arrow is pointed in the same direction as the old one. This is necessary for alignment purposes. Do not use impact or air tools when you're tightening down this nut. Now remove the spring compressor tool, and the strut is ready to be installed back in the car. The installation process is the reverse of the removal process. These three mounting nuts get torqued down to 33 foot-pounds. These bolts get torqued down to 90 foot-pounds. Bar, ABS, and brake line brackets. The struts on this car were well past their expiration date. And now you see what it takes to replace the struts on your car. So until next time, y'all stay tuned.